Okay, so I'm just going to run through the steps that are involved in solving this past Junior Cert exam question for orthographic projection. Okay, so first of all, we need to read the question and see that the elevation is drawn in the direction of arrow A. The plan is drawn from the elevation, and the end view is drawn in the direction of arrow B. Okay, so we need to understand that we need to have three views, which is the elevation, the plan, and the end view. Okay, so some of you are struggling with a bit on the direction of putting this on the paper, meaning the end view going to which side of the elevation. Okay, so remember the technique that I was showing you. So we need to draw the projection planes or just draw a square around our object like that. Yeah, and what we will do then is from the arrows, so I'm going to pick yellow for arrow A. Sorry. This is my yellow for arrow A. And what I'm going to do from arrow A is draw a line pointing towards the object and going across until it hits the box that I've just drawn. Okay, I'm going to do the exact same thing for arrow B. From arrow B, I'm going to draw a line until it hits the box again, like that. Okay, so there's one arrow that is missing, which I'll just draw in here. It is the plan, but we know the plan always looks down on top of the object. It's always going to be the bird's eye view. Okay, so when we're doing it from the arrow from the plan, we come down straight through the object again until it hits the box, the red box again. Okay, so if I follow my B line here over, I know this side will be my end view. I know over here is going to be elevation. Sorry, you might not be able to see the yellow. And here will be my plan. So if I write that out on plain terms, okay, so I'm just going to draw my XY line. And I'm going to have my elevation here. And I always know that my plan is going to be below my elevation. So my plan will always be directly below my elevation. And because of my B arrow here going across to hit this side of the box, my end view will always be on my right hand side. Okay, that's just a way of determining which side the end view is going to be. I know some of you have struggled with that previously. Okay, so I'll just rub all that out there, 2 seconds there now. So okay, so now we know the orientation of our question, meaning the elevation will be posted on the right, or on the left, sorry. The end view will be posted on the right, and the plan will be directly below the elevation. Okay, so the next thing that you should do is create a checklist of what you need, okay? So first of all, if it's not given to you in the question, very important, we need our XY line. Yeah. The next section obviously will be the elevation. From the elevation then, we need to construct the plan. And from the plan and both the elevation, we need to construct the end view. Okay, and it's not listed in this question, but it will be listed in other questions that you may have. So I'm just going to put it in here for argument's sake. So we need dimensions. Remember, in some of the questions that you have previously done, it has asked for you to put in 2 dimensions into the question. So I'm just going to do that here just so you know how to properly do it, okay? So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy this, make a smaller version of it so I can take it down. On the drawing, you're taking all these dimensions and you're using them to solve the question. Okay, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability here on the iPad that I have. I just don't have my set squares to be able to accurately draw it out. I will show you the accurate solution of it towards the end of this video as well. Okay, so when we're looking at the question, the first thing of my checklist, I'll bring my checklist down with me. Okay, so the first thing on my checklist is an XY line. Okay, so what I'm naturally going to do is draw my XY line. And obviously label it XY. Okay, so checklist, XY line, done. Now in the elevation, sorry, is the next part. From the elevation, what colors we will see, if you would like to do it this way, I know some of you do like to do it this way, what we're going to see is we're going to see this face here. We will see this face here, this here, and see the top kind of truncated cone. We're going to see some of this here as well. Okay, so that's what we're going to see when we're looking in from arrow A. Okay, so all I need to do now is just start to draw in that. So I'm going to have a line down like this. Okay, and we're coming up this way again, just to about here. Yeah. And then this face comes up this way. And across. Okay, so I've started some of the drawing here now. What I have drawn in there, I'll rub it out on my part. I will mark it in green. Okay, so the surface that I've drawn is this surface here. This surface here. Now, as you can see, there's a little step here that I need to draw in as well. So I'm just going to put him in. And from the top of the circular cylindrical part here, there's also a little lip that I have yet to put in, like that. And there is one more detail that I'm missing, okay? So if we look at this section here, okay, we see that it's curved around this way, right? But if we're looking in it from A, if we follow our box like I've been showing you in the previous lessons, if we follow the box up, so I'm going to do it in green, I'll zoom in here, right? If we follow the box up and around this way and down, the box should come along this way to meet the 30, right? So if I color in that surface, like I've been doing in the previous questions to show you, I will see a section here covered in blue. Okay, so I'm going to see some of that section. I won't see the entire curve, and obviously because it is a curved surface, it's still going to look like a 2D object, 2D surface, sorry. So meaning that it's going to look rectangular in the elevation. So when I draw that in, it will look like this. Okay, now we have everything done on the elevation bar the truncated cone. Okay, so the truncated cone is a cone that is turned upside down, as you can see here. It's just an upside down cone that's in the object. Now, if you can think back to when we were covering the circular and cylindrical objects in orthographic projection, we said that a cylinder looked like a rectangle when it was in plan. No, when it was in elevation, sorry. And the cone looked like a triangle. So when I'm drawing in my elevation, this cone, I know that it's going to look like a triangle, okay? But we can see here, towards the end of it, along here that it is cut off slightly, so we only see some of the cone because the rest of the cone has gone inside to the object, okay? So that means that we have two radiuses to work off. We have the radius 10 and we have the radius 22, okay? So we can see that the radius 10 is connected to the train. So our measurement here says we come in 22. So from here on my elevation, I'm going to come in 22 and I'm going to mark off my center point to the cone. Okay, now I know that I come out radius 10, so I come out 10 either side. Okay, it is up 35, so we will be going up this way 35. Okay, and then from the top part along here, the top part is going to be radius 22. Okay, so to do that, what I would suggest to do is follow this center line up and mark off your 35 line across in light and mark off 22, sorry, and mark off the radius 22 of either side of this drawing. So we'll have 22 here and we will have 22 here. Okay, so sorry, that's just, and then connect them together. Okay, so that's the start. That's the plan, sorry, that's the elevation of the train, complete. Okay, so now we need to move it into plan. But first we go back up to our checklist. Elevation is done. Okay, that's the elevation complete. Now, on the plan, I know some of you are struggling with the orientation of this again, but we need to remember that this side and this side here, the two sides on this here, is my extreme points of my object, meaning that the distance here will not change. Okay, so I know that that distance will not change at all. So if I project my lines down into plan, I can work from those distances to draw my plan. Okay, so what I'll do there now is I'll project. I'm going to be using a different color pen to project the lines down. Sorry. So there are my two extreme points. Okay, so if we go back to our object and we see we will look for the outer box first of our object, okay, for the plan. Okay, so the outer box, meaning the width of the object here, is 70. We then have 85 and 90. Okay, but we already have the 85 and 90, the width in the plan, sorry, in the elevation, first of all. Okay, so the only other dimension that we need is the 70 here. Okay, so what we will need to do is draw that 70 in. Okay, so first I'm drawing my 85 and 90 line here. So this is the exact same line as it is in plan, in the elevation, sorry. I'm just taking my distances from my elevation down using my projection lines. Okay, so for the 70 then, what you will do is you will mark it off along this way, like that, and then you could just continue your box. We can rub it out if the box doesn't, if there's detail missing in the box, but you need to draw your box first. Okay, so my box is drawn there now. So this side will be 70, this side will be 70, and we will have our 85 and 90 part here and here, because we know that from our elevation. We've already marked in our elevation. We are just bringing the distances down from our projection lines. Okay, so this is our projection lines. We're just bringing our distances down from the projection lines using the projection lines, sorry, to create our plan and taking the distances down from that. Okay, so I have my outer box drawn. But I know from looking at my elevation, there's a lot more detail that I need to bring down to solve this question. Okay, so what I need to do then is just bring down the detail that I need. Okay, so I have a detail here that I can bring down. I have detail here that needs to come down as well. Okay, and then we'll move on to our cone and bring down the detail on our cone. Oh. Okay, so there is all my detail brought down from the elevation. Okay, so now all I need to do is look at the backup to the object. Okay, so we have my detail down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use green again, and I'm going to highlight the sections of the object that I think I will see in plan. Okay, so first of all, I know straight away that I'm going to see this part here. I know that I'll see this part here. And I'll rub out these marks here for you. I know that this part here, this section here, I'll see some of this section, and there's a back part here that is you can't really see in the object, but you know it is there. You know it's going to be like almost like a step. You know that you can see that, and it's the same over here as well. You're going to see this part, but you don't know that. You can't see that it's there in the object, but you know that it's there from your drawing. Okay, so I can see those surfaces. So if I'm going down into my plan again, I need to fill in those details into my drawing. Okay, so we'll start off with the back step, which I have in there now. Next, I will draw in the arch here. This part needs to be drawn in. So all I need to do there is follow my detail again, my detailing line, and fill in the line like that. The next part I will see will be, which is probably easiest to draw, will be my cone. Okay, so we know that it's radius 22, sorry. We know that it's in the center line, the center of our object. So I need to mark off 35 here. Okay, so then I have my center point at 35. Now it is radius 22, so with my compass, I will need to draw a circle that is radius 22. Like that. Sorry, it's not as accurate obviously because I don't have a compass to draw. Okay, so that's what I have now in my plan so far. Okay, so the next part of the question is that we see some of this as well when we're looking at the object. I'll rub out the rest of the surfaces first. Okay, so we will see a small bit of this part here. Okay, because it's a cylinder, and we will still see all of this when we're looking down on top of the object. Okay, so remember, we'll think back to the cylinder. When we're looking at a cylinder, it looks like a rectangle. Okay, when we're looking in on plan or elevation. Here, the cylinder is twisted from flip down, and we're looking at sideways. We're looking at the cylinder sideways in plan. So we know that it's going to look like a rectangle. Okay, and it may not be seen here, but if we cut along this way, this part here will be our object that we see. It's hard to see there now, but that surface is what we're going to be drawing there now. Okay, so we see that surface. We will also see this part on top of it, but we can draw that in after we've drawn in the other surface. Okay, so when I'm going down to my plan, I need to take my measurements, which my writing is covering, sorry. I need to take my measurements, so the outer measurement will be radius 30. Okay, so it's going to be 60 overall. Okay, so that means when I come down to my plan, I mark off 60 either side, and I will draw my cylinder, which I see as a rectangle in plan, to the point where it meets this surface here. Okay, so we can see where it has met that surface. So there's my cylinder now drawn in. I'll just rub out the little marks that I made. Okay, so that's the next section of the question done. Now we need to add in the top part where the cone is sitting on for our question. Okay, so we know from here that it is 30, so that's 15 either side from our center line. Okay, so if we have our center line again, which we will draw in there now, sorry. It is 15 either side from our center line. So we have here and we have here. Now, what I will do is draw this in first. Okay. Now, when we're looking in plan, we see that the top of my cone is coming out over this part here. Okay. So I know that the part continues on like it is there now, right? But I can't see it. So I'm going to add in hidden detail to the question. Okay, so I'm just going to rub this out again for argument's sake and draw in the lines that we will see. Which is that, and then I'm going to add in dotted lines to show that I know that it continues on, but I can't see it when I'm looking down in plan. Okay, so that is done there now. I also know that I have a radius 10 here to be drawn in, but I again cannot see it when I'm looking down on top of the object. Now, that is still hidden detail, as I know that it's still there. So what I'm going to do is just dot in the circle. Okay. So that's my plan finished there now. Actually, it's not. There's a point here that this line here needs to be hidden detail as well. Okay, so you can see that in my drawing, the cone comes out over the object. If it does in yours, this is what you need to do. And dot this part as well, because the cone is coming out over the side. So we know that it's still joining up, but the cone is coming out over it. So we cannot see it, but we still know that it's there. Okay, so when I go back up here, my plan is done. Finally, I need to draw my end view. Okay, so that when we worked out previously, we know that our end view is on the right hand side of our object. Okay, so with our 45-degree set square, what we will do again with our projection lines is draw them up towards this way to hit the XY line, hit the XY line at 45 degrees. I will do the same with this line here. Again at 45 degrees to find the most extreme points for my end view. Okay, we need to make sure that this is 45 degrees. Okay, so I know that that is my two extreme points for my end view. I need to find my extreme height for my end view. Okay, how I do that is I go to the top of my object in elevation. With another projection line, I will bring across my top line, which I know then will be my both extreme 2 points from my plan going up to the top and my extreme height from elevation. So that is going to be the outline of my end view for this question. Okay, so we still need to bring across some detail that we're missing from both the plan and elevation. Okay, so for example, we can bring across both the center point for the elevation for the cone in plan, and we can bring across the height from the cone in elevation. So I'm just going to do that there now. So I brought across the height of the cone, and I'm going to bring across the center point. Now, how I bring across the center point is, remember when I was telling you that it's no good if I draw my 45-degree line from here, because it's not going to connect up. I know some of you are doing that sometime at some stage. Okay, what I need to do is I need to bring it out to the extreme point of my object and then draw the line at 45 degrees. Sorry. Bring it out to my extreme point of my object and then draw it out at 45 degrees. Okay, so that's there done now again. So what I need to do is project it up again into the end view. Sorry. Until it hits my height that I brought across from my elevation. Okay, so I know that that's my center, my height, and my center point for my cone. Okay, so when we're looking at the end view, and as you can see, I brought up some of the detailing from my plan. Okay, so I can bring up the rest of the detailing. Okay, so I need to turn my thing to blue for projection lines. I can bring up the edge of the circle or the cone. Okay, I can bring over this section here. Remember, I'm bringing these all out to the edge of my line, so that, because it won't make sense if I bring it straight up directly 45 degrees, because it'll cross into my elevation. Okay, so remember, 45 degrees set square. Bring across all the detail. Okay, so I can bring over these small details as well. Okay, so that's the detailing that I can bring across in my plan. Now I know that there's a lot of lines there, which is all right that they are there because we're bringing across the right detailing for the question. But what I'll do is, because I can't darken in my question or lighten those projection lines, I'll rub out those projection lines at the end of the question to show you what the completed question should look like. Okay, so now I need to bring across my detailing from my elevation. So I have detailing here. I have my little step that I need to bring across. Now we know that from here, from our plan, we know that from our object that this section here is a circle. Okay, but in our plan, in our elevation, in our plan, we cannot see that. But from looking in our end view, we can. So what I know from here, that is going to be the center point to my circle. Okay, but if you get stuck again, we can go to our end view, add up this dimension here, which is in turn will be 35. And then from our end view, we come up 35, mark it off here, draw our circle. Okay. But we can also mark it in here, up 35, come across and bring across, bring across that line again. Okay, just like that. Now, we will also bring across our step here. And on this step, we do have the height of the cone as we are given it in our elevation here. So we know that this part here and this part here is the height of our cone, and we have brought across those detailings, so we're able to find the height of the cone in our end view. Okay, so now if we look at our lines here, I'm going to use a different color just to show the lines again, just to make it easier for you to see. So I'm going to run along this line here, okay? Run along up here to this point here. I'm going to do the same thing with this guy. Now, they are the edges of my cone. As you can see, I've come across here and I've come across here. They are the edges of my cone, okay? So what I'm going to do is go again into my projection line, bring it straight up until it reaches the height of my cone, the height line that I brought across, until it reaches that height line, which is here. Now, from those two lines being brought across, those projection lines, I know that this point and this point is the radius, is the diameter of my cone, okay? So I have that line there now, which is the diameter of my cone. What I need to do then is find the smaller radius of the cone, okay? So if we know that it's 10, you can simply just mark it off from the line, so we know it's radius 10 here. Again, you can bring it up in from the plan again, but I feel that there's too much lines and it'll get too confusing for you. So all I'm going to do is just mark off 10 either side and draw in my cone. Like that. So there is my cone in our end view. So I'm just going to rub out these pink lines again, just so that you're aware. Go back. Just so it's easier to follow. Oh. Okay. Now, what I also need to put in is the section, the step section, sorry, the little section here. If we're looking at our object, see this little section here? I'll go back up to our plan, our object. The little green arrow here. I need to put in this area in our into our end view. Okay, so I know that we're working off this center point here, which I have found to be here. So this is my center point with my compass at a radius of 20. I will draw a circle like that. Okay, then looking at my object again in the plan, no, not in the plan, again on the in the question, I know that there's another circle that needs to be drawn at a radius of 30. Okay, but the radius of 30 circle is connected onto two sections of the question. Okay, the two sections of the question that is connected to, if you go back up, we'll rub out all this just to make it easier to see. The two sections that is connected to is this section here. I'll use a different color for it. This section here and this section here. So what I'm going to do is just finish off the circle, and you'll be able to see it more clear that it cuts into these sections. Okay, so when you're drawing this, we will draw a construction line for the circle, draw this section in then, and then harden in the circle after we've drawn the two sections up the top here. Does that make sense to you? Now, when I'm doing this, I cannot do the circle. I'll have to do the circle freehand, as my iPad doesn't let me do sections of circles. So I'll need to draw in my 10 line first from either side. Okay, and then from this, I need to draw my circle that connects into here as well. I will bring up these lines again. Okay, so I know it's freehand and it's not the best quality of drawing, but that's what it's going to somewhat look like when we're when we have the question fully solved, okay? So the next part of the question that we need to put in is the curve at the top, just here, okay? So again, how we're going to do that is, we already have it marked in along here, okay? So with your compass, we know that it's a radius 60. With your compass, from down this way, from the center line, you're going to mark 60 down. Okay, so we'll just here, we'll say here's 60. So you're going to put the point of your compass on that, and you're going to draw in an arc from the center up until it hits the top like this, and come down again. Okay, then you'll be able to etch out these lines that you have drawn with your rubber. And so put in the question like that, okay? Now, what we need to do is just finish off the question by adding in the details that are in the question that we can see. Okay, so we need to mark in this surface. How we do that is draw this line across in our plan, and we know that it's in line with this, so we will just, sorry, that's rubber. Use our pencil to mark in these lines and these lines here again. Okay, so now that will be the question complete for the views, for each view. So I have the end view complete. I just need to do dimensions. Okay, so dimensions are fairly easy. We've already covered them. All you just need to do is pick dimensions that you add in yourself. Okay, so we can pick the 70 here. We'll add in 2 dimensions for you. We can pick the 70 mark, so we'll have 70 here. We'll draw in our dimension line, arrow, arrow, and 70. Now, I also want to give a radius for diameter, okay? So with a line, we'll take a radius here, and we'll put in R20. Okay, so there's 2 dimensions that are put in. Obviously, you're going to put an arrow here to make it a lot more neater. There's dimensions that are put in, okay? So what I'm going to do here now is I'm just going to rub out my projection lines just to show you the complete question. I know it's tricky to see what it is here now, so I'm just going to rub out all my projection lines to show you what it would look like complete. Okay, I need to redraw in my XY line because I rubbed it out by accident. Okay, so that's what my question should look like. I have, because I was drawing it inaccurate, I do have the solved question here. Solved solution there now. So I will extend it up there now. So as you can see, mine was just not far off it, but I was freehanding it. So when you're drawing it correctly and accurately, this is what you should have on your question. Okay, so as you can see, we have got a complete question that is looking accurate to what this should look like. Now they didn't add in dimensions, but I did because on other questions that you have solved in the past, you have been asked to put in dimensions, and so that's why I did there. Now I know some of you have struggled with that, adding in the different dimensions. Okay, so there you are. Now that's the question, and hopefully this will help you for your exam on Monday. Thanks.